folks. It is CM Ryder back with another What He Said, a conversation with my guy friend. Today, I interviewed Austen Jaye of Roomie Lover Friends, a web series that I really love. Listen up and see what he has to say about life, love, and relationships.
How'd you hear about Roomie Lover Friends?
You know what? What had happened was
What had happened was,
I
here come a
stopped.
lie.
No lie, no lie. I stopped watching TV.
Okay.
And I stopped watching TV because I was working on this book and I just could not finish it. And so I was like, gosh, I need to give something up. And so I gave up TV and I actually finished my book. But in the midst of it, when I would have like a little craving for something, I would go on YouTube and watch different stuff. And
Like crazy people.
yeah, it's like crazy people, all kinds of stuff. And then I stumbled upon it like one day. I watched another video. I think it was like an awkward black girl video or something like that.
hmm
And so I stumbled upon it and I started watching. I was like, "Oh, this is good," and I kept watching. And so then I would wait for the episodes to come out. I'm like, "Ugh, when are they coming back?" So yeah, that's how I started watching. How'd you get into it?
with Roomie Lover Friends.
Yeah,
Um, so of course I'm an actor. Hello.
yeah.
And and Numa, I can't even say her last name. Perrier,
Uh
Perry. I want to say Perrier. Um,
huh.
she we did a play 2 years ago.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, 2010. It was in September. It went from I think the end of August to September, and we did a play together called The Good Negro.
Wait a minute.
And
I'm from the South, right? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So it's called The Good Negro. It was a Tracy Scott Wilson play, original play, and she did it I think in New York and Chicago. So we were the first to do it in L.A.
Mhm.
So Numa and I were in the play, and they're actually redoing the play again this year. I just chose not to do it this year.
Okay.
But they're doing it again in LA. So Numa and I worked together, and this, who is the director of Black and Sexy, he came to the play a few times, and Issa Rae, not Lisa Ray, because everybody wants to say Lisa. They're
Lisa.
like, "Who, Lisa?" So I'm like, "No, Issa." Issa Rae, and I also have a mutual friend that played football at Stanford because she went to Stanford, and he ended up going to the NFL, and he brought her to my play. So I met Issa, and I'm just like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" I didn't even know. I think this was like when she just started Awkward Black Girl.
Okay.
Yeah, because this will be her third season. So 2 years ago, yeah, yeah. So she had just started Awkward Black Girl. It was just starting to take off, and this last I think whenever the I started filming these episodes this last November, I was doing a play which was called Black Women State of the Union.
Oh wow.
So I I dibble and dabble in a lot of black things.
I see.
So actually it's a great play, and there's different writers for there's six scenes and different writers for each scene, and just basically the topic about black women. It's not male bashing. It's not you know
Good, because we
one of
don't
those.
do that around here.
Yeah, they do it a lot, and it's not male bashing because the scene that I was in was called 15 Minutes,
Okay.
and it was it was set up as like a speed dating event.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, so basically, I'm in the place and I meet this black chick, and I basically tell her, I'm not into black women.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, that's what the reaction was. Ooh, oh my gosh. So, so as an artist, I try to tell the truth.
Mhm.
And sometimes you go in with goals. Follow me because I'm going to go all over the place right
That's
now. It's just
fine.
what
I'm
I
cool
do.
with it.
Yeah, but I bring it back. You know, I bring it back
All right.
because the original question was, "How'd you get pulled into Roomie Lover Friends?" So I already know that. So with Black Women's Day Union, you know, one of the lines in the play is, you know, it's just the way you Black women make us feel. And so she's saying, you know, what do you mean the way you make us feel? And I'm like, it's just the way you Black women make us feel. You know, you go around and you're being angry and looking mad for no reason.
Uh-oh.
You know, yeah, I know. And she's like, and I was like, it's just the way you make us feel. She's like, what do you mean? I said, you make us feel Black. They started laughing until I said, like, I said, you make us feel Black. And it's funny though, because people would laugh. And then when I kept going, they're like, oh, I wasn't supposed to laugh at this.
Oh.
It's the way you make us feel Black, not human.
Mm.
You know, it's just the way, when I'm dating somebody that's not Black, other people don't look at me as just a color. I'm elevated.
Right.
So
Ah.
Black women was like,
Oh, they
mm,
were ready to stone you.
no, they was shoot. They trying to treat me like Paul. So she said, so I say, and as a goal, as an artist, I try to tell a story. Like people, they want to, bash actors and say, oh, you guys are professional liars and whatever they want to say. And I
Mm-hmm.
say, you know what? Honestly, I'm not a liar. I'm a professional storyteller.
And you tell people stories.
I tell stories because everybody has a story that they can't get out. And I come in and I take the place of that person that is not willing to have people ridicule them, look them in the face, whatever way it may be. And I am able to tell that story for them.
Ah, I
You
never
see
thought
what
of
I'm
it that
saying?
way.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you write your book, and of course your name's going to be attached to it because you're the author. But if you can't sit there and actually look somebody in the face and say, "This is who I am," you're going to hire an actress or an actor to tell your side of the story. And at the end of the day, it takes the illness off of you
Mm-hmm.
looking any type of way or somebody criticizing you, and it puts it on somebody else.
Right.
Selfish.
Hey,
Um,
it happens. Sometimes you have to be to keep your sanity.
so, I mean, back to the original question. I was with so that's how I got brought into Roomie Lover Friends, and that's just usually how the business is. It's just who and who
Mm-hmm.
is comfortable with your work. You know,
Yeah. And that
because
makes sense.
you don't want to waste money on somebody. Sometimes you don't want to waste money on having to find uh, with a cast. It's like, okay, who can come in and do this job and do it to the best of ability and help us tell this story.
Right. So is Roomie Lover Friends based on somebody's story?
That I don't know.
I
I
need
think
you
I
to ask.
don't know. I think it is based on somebody's story, but I think it's based on whoever is in that situation. We all come up with ideas because sometimes you're just spitballing. You're like, man, what if we came up with this idea about two roommates who fall in love and something happens? And we've all heard stories about roommates like that where, a guy had a roommate and it was a girl, and then the guy happened to have a girlfriend, and he's like, oh, you know what? I don't like you. She's like, I don't like you living with a girl. And he's like, no, it's not no big deal because guys don't see that. We're like, it's no big deal. I'm not tripping. She's just
Uh-huh.
paying.
But that close proximity though, even when I think people don't mean for it to happen, in certain situations, because I'm a staunch believer that women and men can be platonic friends. Like, I mean, that's what the whole premise of my blog is, that men and women can be friends. However, there are certain parameters you have to have around that. I think living together makes it a little difficult.
Well, yeah, especially if they're attractive.
Yeah.
Um, and it's funny. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, I honestly think men and women can be friends, but what it has to be is that you have to be adults about it, and you have to be able to not put yourself in situations.
Yes.
Like if you hang out with somebody alone after 10 o'clock at night, oof, that's a tough one.
It is.
Especially like if because at the end of the day, of course. course, we fall in love with each other's characters.
Mhm.
You know, the looks definitely
Right.
grab us in, and we gravitate towards those looks. Like, oh man, he's she's a good looking woman. She has a nice body and all these things. Or a girl will look at a man and say, oh man, he has a nice body, he has a nice smile, whatever it may be. But then if they have no conversation and they are just dumb, you're like, I don't care how good looking you are, you can't even hold a conversation.
And this can't work.
This can't work. But if the conversation is great and the character is great, and you're like, man, I just love them just for who they are and their looks, their personality enhances their looks. Now it's like, do we go out to coffee? Do we go out to dinner? Oh, okay, that's cool. We're in a public place. Oh man, now we're at this. Now we're at each other's homes and we're watching movies together. Oh,
Uh
oh,
oh. And you are so right. I think that's the thing that I think a lot of times scares people about men and women being friends. Because if you have two people who are, let's just say they are attractive people and they do spend a lot of time together, it will cause some friction, not necessarily between the two of them, but to outside people. And even though like with the characters in Roomie Lover Friends, they have been doing what they've been doing.
mhm,
I think even if they weren't having this little Roomie Lover Friends situation, it would still cause friction between, like, say, your character on there who happens to have your same name
yeah,
and Charisse, the character who is the girlfriend of the guy character in the Roomie Lover Friends situation. And I
yeah.
think they would still like. Do you think if you were dating a woman and she lived with a man, would you really feel comfortable with that situation at all?
I'd probably be it all the time. So I
See, where's the trust?
don't. No. See, the thing about it is, um, I've come to understand that, like, if I'm dating a girl, of course I trust her. I'm not gonna sit here and stalk you and ask you a million questions and go through your phone and tell you who you can talk to and who you can't talk to. I mean, I understand the value of getting it done, because if you could only find another roommate to pay the rent, I understand that you don't want to be out on
Right?
the street. But at the same time, I've always said, I trust you. I just don't trust
Trust
him.
him. Mm-hmm. Classic line. I've heard it before.
I just don't trust him because, I mean, look at the
Mm-hmm.
show. I mean, the dude got his shirt off all the time. You got to
But
be.
but no, I think like like basically in the show, you are the boyfriend of a lady, Tamiko, who's living with a guy. Um,
Well,
right?
character, a nice guy. You know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
definitely nice guy. I definitely play the understanding guy, and I definitely, allow things to play out in my character.
That most people wouldn't.
And most people wouldn't. So it's like, it's not that I'm naive in the character. It's just, okay. It's what happens. Let's not jump to conclusions. Let's not assume, because most people, male or female, I don't try to put it on one sex. I put it on both sexes. Most
Mhm.
people in general try to assume,
Mhm.
and if you I mean, for those who watch the show, one of my lines that I say is, it's 2012, people sleep, not sleep, people have roommates. People have roommates of the opposite sex. It's cool, I understand, but it's really just, I'm not going to play myself and and be uncomfortable. I'm going to see how this plays out, because I'm not going to be that guy that hold your hand every time a dude look at you. It's like, no,
Mhm.
you do you, and you be you, and then when you give me a reason not to trust you, then we'll go from there.
And do you think like, and that's what I was gonna say before when I told you about how I wanted to talk to you and what I wanted to speak to you about. Like in general, I think that's a good way to handle relationships because not many people are that way. most people instinctively, I think, and it just comes from a place of if you've been burned before, you look out for things that are going to burn you again. But by doing that, you miss out a lot of times on the good parts of your relationship.
You know what I
And
say? I say, yeah, we've all been burned. Ain't nobody perfect. Regardless of if you think nobody playing you, then somebody playing, you
right,
know. And the way I look at it is that regardless of how, and this is just the positive aspect on it because it's so easy to go negative.
absolutely.
The positive side of it is just, as much as you want to treat somebody bad or put up that wall against somebody after you've been burned, you're really hurting yourself before anything.
Yes.
You know? I understand you got to definitely protect yourself. We all have to protect ourselves because you don't want to end up in a situation, and I'm just going to be real.
Be real.
You don't want to end up with a situation where like you end up getting an STD to somebody because somebody was dishonest to you, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of us. You hear those stories of somebody got an STD and all of a sudden they go around giving somebody else an STD because they're upset.
Right.
You don't want to do that. That's wrong. And you definitely got to protect yourself at the same time. Getting to know somebody, you should give them somewhat of the benefit of the doubt and not automatically assume that they're going to be like the person before.
Absolutely. I literally just had this conversation with somebody because my whole thing is this. The way I've treated, I think, dating is I said like when I'm talking about there are two realms. Like there's the realm where you're extremely selfish and that's where people are very protective of themselves to a fault.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a realm where you are actually trying to build something with someone. And people come with a past, people come with a lot of stuff with them, but you don't have to call it baggage. It's just a history.
Yeah.
And the problem is people get too afraid of the history and they're afraid to actually go through and find out who a person is and how that person will be to them. They're looking at what that person did in the past instead of looking at, how has that past molded them to be a better person now. And that I think that's the great fear people have. Like you can't protect yourself from everything. I'm not talking about STDs, but you can't, live your life in a bubble in a shell behind a wall. At some
Yeah.
point, you have to take that step to dig deeper and get to know a person and grow with them through the ups and the downs and sometimes the disappointments.
Well, yeah, and a lot of it is that this is. I mean, I go back to acting, and a
Mhm.
lot of people don't know the journey and what actors go through. Some people get success early, some people get it later, some people get it in the middle. You just got to stay the course.
Uh huh.
Uh, and not fall into the trap of like, okay, it's not a lot of blacks on TV or whatever it may be. You know, I don't fall into that trap. I just say, you know what, this is what I pursue, this is what I want to do, and this is where I want to go. And the reason I say this is because the thing about acting is it forces you to look at yourself.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying any other professions don't. If you're a doctor and you're about to go into surgery, you better look at yourself and make sure you take care of that person. But every role you go into as an actor, you have to look at yourself because you have to bring a certain part of yourself to that role. And that's another reason why I love acting so much is because I'm forced to find myself in some
Mhm.
type of way, and expand myself on stuff that I didn't know before.
Mhm.
Um, but even with I mean, I go back to the STD thing. I was just going to the extreme just to prove a point, but. Uh, in general, people just do stuff against people because they're hurting, and they might not be knowing what they're hurting about.
Mhm.
And a lot of men and women also are living in a lot of fear. That's what it really comes down to. We're just living in a lot of fear for whatever it may be. That I have too much pride and can't nobody do me wrong, or I've been done wrong and nobody's going to do it to me again, or
Mhm.
it's a lot of things that we create as humans and
Mhm.
bring it into the next one, or we we talk about the opposite sex and then wonder why we can't find the opposite sex.
Mm-hmm. It's like if you
And
hate it so much, why do you desire it so much at the same time? Like the male bashing that we were talking about earlier, that you said is not in the play. What did you call? What was the name of the state of the black woman?
it's called the State of the Union. So
Oh,
it's
okay, the black
basically
woman state of the union.
just pointing out where black women are in today's society, like in movies and music
Mm,
and portrayals of society. You know, how they're portrayed in The Help, how they're portrayed in
mm,
Precious. Um, you know, black mothers losing their sons, like Trayvon Martin, um, and it's hit generations. You know, even in the civil rights movement, when kids were getting beat for being black, and you know, hoes and all that stuff. There's some great plays that I wish everybody could come and experience because it's just it's not to say, oh my gosh, we're black women, we can't survive. It's like, no, this is where we're at this moment in time, and this is what we need to do.
mm-hmm.
So it's a great play, and I've pretty much been uh, blessed to be a part of some great plays with great messages. Um, you know, everybody has their thing, like their niche. You know, Denzel Washington has his historical side with Malcolm X and Hurricane. You know,
Right,
he'll play a cop here or there on Training Day and Out of Time, but his thing is history. You know, Will Smith has his thing, which is action, sci-fi.
right.
You know, everybody has their thing that they're really interested in. And, you know, not to say that I'm so pro black, but at the same time, there are great stories out there that I really want to be a part of, that I really want to tell. You know, regardless of whether it's male or female, it's just, okay, what is this story that's so great? My dad's mom was Italian and Native American, and but she looked like a white lady.
Uh-huh.
My dad's dad was black and Native American, and then on my mom's side, her mom is black and her dad is black, but my grandfather on my mom's side had a white dad, I think. So anyway, so I was not raised like that. I was raised to treat women great and respect them. They respect you. It doesn't matter the color, because at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, once we gone, it don't matter.
Uh-huh.
But I've had the conversation of dating black women, only dating black women, surrounding yourself around black women, whatever it may be. And so when I read that piece, I was like, this speaks to me because I understand this and I have these conversations a lot. So it's really for me what speaks to me in that moment in time, and how can I tell the story to educate people, number one, and broaden the horizon. Like I said, like when I went into the role, I definitely want to go in, pissing people off, but not pissing them off to make them mad, but to piss them off to open their minds. And I had a lady coming to me after the show one time, and she's like, "Man, you were so great. I hated you, but you were so great."
You hit the role. Like it
Yeah,
became they couldn't decipher whether you were acting or being yourself.
and the writer, which I loved, is she was like, "Austin, you like played it perfectly," because she wrote it and she really experienced this in New York, and she wrote it, and she's like, "This is exactly the guy that I wrote," and I was like, "Okay, good. That means I'm doing my job."
Exactly. And because that's the thing is like even when I watch you on Roomie Lover Friends, I'm like, well maybe that's how he is in real life. And let me find out in real life you like some thug going around being a womanizer on the real. And I'm like, ah, he's like the nice guy. Okay. Maybe that's how he really is, but that is, I guess, that is good acting. But okay, let me ask you the big question. If you did not act at all, what would you do?
Oh, that's a good question. And the reason that's a good question is because every time that even comes to my mind, and I think that, like, man, if I were just to say to myself today, you know what, I don't want to do this no more. I don't even want to audition no more. I don't even want to, shoot anymore. What could I do? And the same answer happens every time. Nothing. I don't know what else I could do.
What?
I don't
Wait.
know what else I could do.
How long have you been doing this?
I'm doing it for like 8 years.
Okay, so what were you doing before you did this?
I had just pretty much gotten out of high school, and I was
Oh, you're
going.
young.
Yeah. How old you think I was?
I mean, I don't know. I'm like 8 years. I've been out of high school for.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I could tell my age, but no, yeah, I started I've been doing it for like 8 years. I started like 2 years after I graduated high school.
Okay.
And I don't know. There's nothing else that I could see myself doing. I'm not saying that, life doesn't change. The chapters don't have to, but I just don't see it. I don't see myself doing anything but acting, maybe directing, doing some directing and stuff like that. But other than that, I'm having too much fun telling stories.
Hmm.
I act. I'm an actor. I'm not. It's not who I am. You
Right.
know, world outside of it might see it as, oh man, that's Austen Jaye. He's on RoomieLoverFriends or whatever show I, get or movie I get. But at the end of the day, that's just what they identify me as. But it doesn't make me who I am.
Right.
You know, my family. I mean, I don't have a family of my own. Like I ain't got no kids.
But why did you say it like that though?
I got family. I got a mom and dad and brother. I got family.
You're
You
like, I ain't
know,
got no kids though.
so,
Kids happen
uh,
to some people.
right now I'm kind of beating that stereotype.
I feel you. I understand. I get it.
It's a joke, but the truth. I am beating that stereotype. I remember when I was 25, and my friend, she says, Austin, you don't have any kids, no baby mothers at 25. Wow, that is amazing. I said, that's sad, but
That is
that's
very
just
sad.
how it is,
Oh my
and it's
God.
a big lady. Uh,
Yeah.
but,
Mm.
oh, this is another thing I gotta say because,
Okay.
you know, we spoke about this a little bit earlier, but what women need to stop doing when it comes to men.
Uh oh.
Not, this is real though.
All
Guys,
right.
guys, I don't step up, but women really need to stop calling men dogs. Gotta stop calling men dogs, because one, you're already coming to a situation thinking the dog. Now you're calling him an animal and he has no control. And when you do that, that's unfair to him and that's unfair to you. You gotta stop calling men dogs out here, you know. And that's just unfair to you both. Whoever to a situation saying it's going to be bad, and when it becomes bad, you're like, oh, I was right. It was bad, because people in general don't want to be wrong. They don't want to be made
Mm-hmm.
wrong, and they don't be wrong. And like we spoke about before, you try to protect yourself and stuff like that. But to really, women, and I'm speaking general because not all women do this, but a lot of women need to stop calling men dogs because it's not going to help them, and it's not going to help a man grow. Because women are here to support and help, just like a man is supposed to be here to support and help the woman. But if you are always bashing him and calling him a dog,
He's going.
you
It becomes a self fulfilling prophecy because you're defining what dog is. It doesn't mean he's actually being that. You just
yeah,
already defined it, and whatever he does is going to lead back to it. And
exactly.
I had this conversation surprisingly with one. I'm gonna say it's like one of my homeboys yesterday. He called me when I was on the road, and everybody always bounces these topics and theories off because besides the blog, like I write a relationship column, and they give me all these topics to talk about. So he went into this whole theory about what types of dogs men are. I said, okay, let's stop. I was like, let's just stop. I was like, for one, I don't buy into this theory that men are dogs. I had to tell this little girl, and I mean little girl, she was like 10 or 11. I was speaking to a girls group, and her first comment to me, because I was going to bring this guy in to talk after I did, and she was like, all men are dogs and pigs, and they all cheat. I said, oh my God, where did that come from? I was like, what? You are 10. And I said, okay. I said, look, I knew where it came from. It came from her mama sitting over in the corner. And I was just like, okay, let's back up. No, no, no. I was like, that is not true. And I, it people feed into this thing. It's like they take something, and because I think I was raised around so many guys and great guys at that, I never had that type of philosophy, and it bothers me greatly when I hear people who do, because I'm like, you're taking them out of the realm of being a human being.
Exactly.
And we all make mistakes, that sometimes you have to go back and look at yourself and where you had missteps in the bad relationships you were in. You can't just lay that all at his feet and then call him a dog. He's not a dog. He's a person who made choices and decisions that you may not have liked, but he's still a person. And I agree with you. Women do need to stop using that terminology. It's ridiculous. I'm like, if he's a dog, then what are you?
Puppy.
Look, don't say that other word.
All right.
But yeah, I hate that with a passion, and it does you create the relationship that you end up having. And I think a lot of people think you can just jump into something and it's gonna magically appear that it's either gonna be extremely good or extremely bad with no effort. But it takes effort to make it bad. It takes effort to make it good. But
Yeah.
a lot of times people look more to blame than to work, which is a problem.
Yeah. It's just a lot of just what you're hearing in society and how people speak about what they feel. You know, sometimes you can't go by your feelings because your feelings can be unstable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean we can talk about this all day.
I
But,
know, but maybe we'll pick up some other time.
I mean, I mean, it's just a long, deep conversation, and it's not about debating us. And I always tell people they don't have to agree, you know, but I definitely have conversations to see how people research. They're always interested in the other spectrum, you know.
Absolutely.
The you know, I just that's just one thing that I hear a lot of women doing is calling men dogs, and it's like first of all, you know, don't put that out there. One, saying somebody's a dog is such a general term again, but you know, you're putting something out there and then you're unhappy when you don't get what you think you deserve or what you want. And at the same time, you know, we all have to check out who we date. You know, we got to look at, you know, how they are, you know, with their parents and the sense of the father there, you know, or the mother there.
Mm-hmm.
How would the parents, you know, treat their kids? And that is a huge um, part of life and understanding who you're dating.
Absolutely. It's a whole package.
The whole package. And I'm not saying that all perfect, but it does help if both parents are there.
I agree. it's funny. I was driving here to do this, and there was a radio program on, and the topic was single parent homes versus married couple homes.
Mm-hmm.
And the stats and what the stats say. Like, I grew up, funny enough, I grew up in both environments. Like, my parents got married when I was 5. I think I was 5. Yeah. And so I grew up in both situations. I grew up with a quote unquote single mom. And then I grew up with my father. My father was always there, but they got married when I was 5. And I grew up in a married home. And there is a difference. And I always say I want kids, and this is why I actually practice law, because I do family law.
Okay.
Um, I want kids to grow up in a healthy environment, and
Well, you know, they're going to be perfect.
it's
You know,
not gonna be perfect, but having like both parents there, you need them. Like,
yeah.
that was why the structure was created. I'm not gonna go religious. I'm gonna stay out of that right now. But that's why it was created, for that purpose. So you can have both there. You need characteristics from your dad. You need characteristics from your mom. It develops you as a whole person. And when something is lacking there, you will see it come up again. Like, you will see that play out in your relationships with men and in your relationships with women. You see that because you're brought up and you're molded into the person you'll become, and the decisions you make are going to be somewhat guided by how you were raised.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to jump in a situation where you're trying to be a couple when you've never had an example of what a couple is.
Yeah.
But yeah, good
It's,
ones.
it's, it's there's a lot. There's a lot.
I know we've jumped all over the place.
I
Oh,
mean, that's usually my conversations. My friends know I jump in situations. I always bring it back. I always bring it back. I definitely thank you for allowing me this time and thinking of me for this interview because I mean I'm still building my career and making myself known and just the acknowledgement of your support for Roomie Lover Friends. Go ahead and donate, y'all.
I know,
And
right?
and it was a great talk. Hopefully, I didn't say nothing too crazy because sometimes I'll go on a tangent.
Well, you did say that one thing about black women, and I was like, you know what? I'm about to cut this off. I'm kidding. No, but seriously, I do appreciate it. And you are somewhat like the character that I thought you were. As Austen on Roomie Lover Friends, your personality really it fits what I imagine Austen being outside of the cameras. It does. So, but I look forward to hopefully seeing a season two very, very, very soon because I don't like waiting. I'm impatient. And
Uh, you out there, but something's good. You gotta have it.
yes, gotta have it. So I do. I encourage people to donate. I've sent that link out probably 80 times, and hopefully it'll be back really, really soon. And I always end and I ask people, what is the last thing you would want people to know? What kind of final words of wisdom do you give?
Life's going to throw you challenges, and as long as you get through them, you'll look back on them and say, look at what I've been through, and there's nothing else that can stop me, and nothing else that can get in my way of what I want to do. If you have a dream, you have a passion, don't go by, you know, giving yourself 8 years to accomplish it. Give yourself the whole lifetime,
Hmm.
and basically just stay on the journey. And when things come your way, just know how to handle it in that moment and then keep focused on what you want to do, whether it's lack of money or, lack of friends or whatever it may be. You got to, at the end of the day, take care of you know. So that's pretty much what I've learned in this time that I've been on this earth. And there's more to come, but in time, I've definitely learned that, there are ups and downs and you just got to keep going.